Hey, it's Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, softball team, whatever, I can help. From name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at andrew@akcmarketing.com or find me on social media, and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
Would you like to sample some of my nuts?
You can lift your weights, you can run your miles, but you ain't got what's been earned through trials. It ain't in the gym, ain't in the youth, it's in busting knuckles and hard-lived truth. Back's been sore since 99, but I still stack wood and I still outgrind. Call me slow, call me old, but I got hands that could bend pure gold. Ain't about muscle, ain't about speed, it's about the fire when the time comes to lead. You can talk real tough, you can flex real wide, but when it's time to dig in, boys, step aside. Old man strength, built to last, years of work, no need for class. Ain't no quit, ain't no doubt, you don't know tough till you've been worn out.
Yeah, and we're back with another episode of Old Man Strength, brought to you by Three Beards Media from the AKC Andrew Downs Marketing Studio, and sponsored by our great sponsors, Robertson Distilling Company, Greenberry Realty, and Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. I'm your host, Chris Shipley. Tonight, I got my special sub-co-host. He co-hosts with me every once in a while when we bring out some Cyclone legends. The Shrog Father, Keith. How are you doing, man?
Man, I'm fired up about tonight, buddy.
How many whiskeys are you in on?
I'm 1 in the whiskey and 3 in the Shrog tea, but we're having a good day, buddy. Shot 79 today, having fun.
Nice. I was stuck in an office all day, but I did peek at the game. I did have the game on. At one point, I was on a meeting at work. I had the game on, and my boss walked in my office, and I just went like this and gave her a finger, like, "Hold on, I'm busy right now." So,
nothing like Cyclone fans out there, brother.
That's right. That's right. Well, we are super excited. It's kind of been in the works for about a month or so, and then we decided to kind of tie it into Big 12 tournament time and the tournament. March Madness coming up. So this all started, I think, because I had said something about Johnny Orr, and Keith, as usual, has his Rolodex of former Cyclone players. And you said, let's get Keith Lefty Moore on. And I said, who's Keith Lefty Moore? So why don't you tell everybody who our guest is tonight?
All right. So everybody talks about this, right? Hilton Magic. I mean, it's on CBS, it's on ESPN, it's on all this stuff, right? So there's this guy that he was the guy. I mean, Johnny Orr comes into Iowa State and he starts kind of the process off, but he's got 5 or 6 guys in Lefty Moore. And we're going to talk today about this guy. Lefty he's a legend of Iowa State. He's a legend still today within Ames. The things that he's done for AAU basketball, for Iowa State, the recruiting that he did to bring players on. I mean, it starts there. Johnny Orr, Lefty Moore, and then from on. So I'm fired up. Lefty Moore and I have been great friends for a long, long time. Even when he tried to poke my eye out at Bayer Hall, we had a great run. The guy I love the guy, man. He's been a hero. People know who he is, and we've got a long history, but his history of Iowa State basketball and the things he's done even past that really need to be recognized. And I am so happy to have Lefty on tonight.
Lefty, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great, and that was a pretty impressive introduction. I don't know if I can top that, but I appreciate that. And like Keith said, we both share the same first name, so we go back a long way in the Cyclone history.
For sure, Keith. I just need you to turn that TV down or whatever you got there, because if it comes across, won't be able to hear you very well. But
gotcha.
I I mean, we don't need to watch Iowa lose. Fran got tossed already, so
I saw that. I just saw that. I just saw that. You
as
want to know
Shroggy said, lifetime contract for that guy. That's what we need is a lifetime contract for that guy.
Well, I know Fran pretty well, and actually, a couple of his sons actually played AAU for me. So he really is a really good guy. But man, when he's coaching, he gets pretty intense and he gets fired up, and we've had a lot of success playing against him here at Iowa State. So I don't mind that either.
Lefty, let's start from the beginning here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you grew up and what brought you to Iowa State?
Yeah, so I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. I was born and raised there. My parents moved to Detroit from Mississippi and Arkansas, because they had the car factories and all that stuff there. So it was a lot of opportunity in the early '40s back then in Detroit. So that's where I was born and raised. Grew up playing basketball, football, baseball. Did all the sports, every day, all the time. Um, Had a very very fortunate childhood. My both my parents worked, so I wasn't one of those kind of guys in Detroit that that was in a bad household or whatever. I had both parents present and involved in my life and helped me out a lot. And I was also very fortunate to have a lot of really really good coaches when I was young. And all of those guys, and even if you look at some of the stuff that I post every now and then, I make sure that I acknowledge those guys, because the things that I do nowadays, I learned from those guys. And it's back then it was hard to find good coaches and good role models, but I was just really really lucky to be able to have them from like the time I was 9 years old all the way through high school. So that's kind of where it started at.
So you went through junior college, right? Down like into Texas or something?
I did. So coming out of Detroit, when I came out of high school in Detroit, and at that particular time, Johnny Orr was the head coach at the University of Michigan, and University of Michigan was really really good. I don't know if you remember, like it was like I graduated high school in '78, and 1976 was when Indiana went undefeated, and I think Michigan lost 3 games, and I think 2 of those 3 were to Indiana. And so the Michigan was really good back then, had a really good team, had this great guard named Ricky Green, who you old guys might know. And so Coach Orr was recruiting me to go to Michigan, and he said, "Hey, I got this guard he's an All-American. He's probably the best point guard in the country." He said, "Hey, you may get to play a little bit as a freshman and sophomore, but when he graduates, then you'll be able to take it over and run the show." And so I was like, "Well, I kind of want to play right now, and I wanted to get out of Detroit, so I did. I went to junior college in Amarillo, Texas. Played in a great league down in Amarillo, Texas. Played against Lewis Lloyd, who went to Drake and led the
Yep, played for
nation in
Drake.
scoring and rebounding. Yeah, played against Western Texas, who Nolan Richardson was their coach at that time, and they had Paul Pressey, and they had all those guys that ended up going to Tulsa and winning the NIT. So that league was a really really great league. And I was about to, coming out of junior college, I was about to go to Marquette. That was my one of my dream schools. Al McGuire and Bo Ellis and Earl Tatum and all of those
Butch
guys.
Lee?
Huh?
Wasn't Butch Lee there too?
But no, that was before Butch Lee. They had a little guard named Lloyd Walton back
Okay.
then, and so anyway, I was gonna go there, and just kind of out of the clear blue sky, um, Ricky Birdsong said, "Hey, would you like to come on and visit to Iowa State?" And back in those days, it wasn't. I mean, you could take 100 visits if you wanted to. So I went on the visit to Iowa State, and they showed me around the Hilton, and I was like, "We get to play here?" And it was like, "Yeah, this is where we play. We play here in the Hilton." And it's like, and we're in the Big Eight, right? That's Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, whatever. Yeah, it's like, and you're my point guard. And so I called my mom and I said, "Mom, I think I'm going to Iowa State." And she was like, "What? You going down there where all those potatoes at?" I was like, "No, it's corn, man. It's corn." And so I come to Iowa State, right? And Lynn Nance was the coach at that time. And we had a pretty decent team. We did okay. And then he ran into some bad luck, and they got rid of him. and then Coach Orr came. And when Coach Orr came to Iowa State, I mean, I just joked with him. I said, "Hey, you was just determined to coach me, wasn't you? You was just gonna follow me wherever I went." So we had that relationship and that friendship, and I tell you what, making the decision to come to Iowa State and live in Ames, Iowa, is easily the best decision I ever made in my life.
Talk about
But
your talk about your relationships that you made at Iowa State. What are some of the things that you say it's the best decision you ever made in your life? How has it affected you, and how has it shaped some of your decisions the rest of your life?
Well, I'm not married right now, but my children's mom I met here at Iowa State, and I have two beautiful kids. They both live down in North Carolina right now. So, and just the meeting people like Shragi and we have a lot of friends in common like Hank Kohler and Kevin Lowry and people like that we've been friends since 84, 85, and we still stay in touch. And the Iowa State thing is like, it's a lot of universities that talk about family and togetherness and all of that. And I think that we really are like a big family. It's like, probably all of my best friends are people that I met here at Iowa State. My job is, through an Iowa State alumni. The things that I do now are through an Iowa State alumni, and I'm still fairly, really close to the athletic program. Jamie Pollard's the athletic director, and I talk to him quite a bit. And what I do is I run an AAU program here out of Ames, Iowa. So all of these guys like T.J. Ossenberger, his son plays for All Iowa Attack, and Jamie Pollard's son, that is a assistant coach at Iowa State now, which makes me feel really really old. But he played for me, so you had all of these guys and you just made all of these connections, and you can just tell that the people, they genuinely care about you, and they want you to do well. And it's it's a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family if you have one. And like I said, I've just met all of my lifelong friends have come through Iowa State.
I got to talk about Buyer Hall.
Oh,
Right? We'll get back to Hilton.
okay,
Right?
okay.
But my first recollection of meeting Lefty, all right, we're at Buyer Hall. It's 2:00 on a Tuesday.
We never went to class, so it could have been
Never.
any day. Yeah.
Well, that makes three of us then, because I didn't go either.
I'm with Greg Hauser, Craig Severson, John Cochran, Terry Kinconnen, and you. And we're playing basketball. And it was, if you win, you keep playing. If you lose, you got to
Gotta
get
wait
in
an hour
line
or
and
two.
start over again, right?
Right.
So I'll never forget this. We were down like a bunch, like 11-3, 11-4 against Ronnie Harris and his crew of people that he was playing with. And Lefty decided that it was time for him to play. And Lefty was directing traffic, going here, go there. And he would back it down, and then he would do a fadeaway from the top of the key and hit the ball, hit the shot. We go down, we play defense, we get it, you come back down. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you made 13 straight shots that day.
Oh,
And
I don't know.
Ronnie, and once he started making shots, Ronnie Harris was one of the greatest defensive players we ever had at Iowa State.
Yeah.
Tries to check
He
left.
shut down Wayman Tisdale.
Yes, he did. And,
Yes.
and Wayman Tisdale 6'9", and Ronnie's 6'4", maybe.
Yep. Still one of my best friends to this day. We talk all the time.
Yeah. Well, we were playing golf this summer, and you were talking to Ronnie, and
Oh yeah.
I mean, and Ronnie's the father of Harrison Barnes, right?
Yep. Harrison Barnes is his son. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
I had no idea that. Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And
No, there's another one that got away. We can talk about that later.
yeah, we had a lot of fun at Bayer. I think that I think I might hold an all-time scoring record for Bayer Hall. But I also probably hold an all-time record for most of the shots attempted in Bayer Hall too.
all I got to say, Chris, is when it got to the point of game time, Lefty just took it to a different level. It was really kind of awesome to see. I mean, you see a guy that just says, fuck it, we ain't losing. And we ran that court for 4 hours. It was awesome. It was absolutely freaking awesome. There were 4 of us, me, Hauser, Severson, Terry Kincana. We walked in together and we're like, well, we need a 5th. And Lefty had just come off or come walking in. We're like, you want to play? And he played, and it was awesome. And Lefty and I have been good buddies ever since. And he used to give him a few free drinks at the cave-in, which I've had several.
Just a few. Hey, Chris, the part that he's leaving out is that those guys weren't the greatest basketball players in the world, but they were a lot of fun to play with and to be around. But I had to carry those guys, and to this day, I had to have a hip replacement and a knee replacement from carrying those guys all those years at Byron Hall.
And I sure hope they're listening. If not, they're going to be hearing this podcast tomorrow. This is awesome.
We'll have to have a rebuttal episode where everybody else comes on and says, "Hold on, Lefty's full of shit."
Yeah. You might, but I don't know. We had a lot of fun back then. I know that.
I want to bring up one story, Lefty. And I was talking to Hank.
This is the part of the podcast where I just sit back and I let Keith ask the question.
So I'm like, Hank, this is Hank Kohler, Happy Joe's, another legend of Ames. All right. And we need to have him on as well because he's got stories that go way beyond anything I can even remember. But anyway, I said, Hank,
before you tell that, I'm gonna let you tell the story. But when you talking about Hank and Chris, you were talking about stuff at Iowa State. So Hank, I'm a city boy from Detroit, right? And you meet Hank Kohler and he owns a pizza place and blah blah. Well, this dude, he taught me how to fish. He taught me how to canoe. He taught me how to do all the stuff that a boy from Detroit never gets to do. And that was just some of the, and again, to this day, still great friends and see him all the time and talk to him. So didn't mean to cut you off, Shroggy.
No, you're good, dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, I love that.
Hank Kohler, I believe, has the world record. He canoed north out of Minnesota to Hudson Bay. Yeah. And about 4 or 5 years ago, he canoed from Park Rapids, Minnesota, on the mouth or the start of the Mississippi River all the way to New Orleans. So he went as far north as you can go and as far south as you can go. He's got and he did that at 70 years old. This guy is awesome. But anyway, I digress. Lefty was the unbelievable teammate, but he had confidence in his team, right? And his teammates. So they're in Waterloo. Tell the story, Lefty, when Keith Kohler gets fouled with no time left and you're down 1.
That's a great story. So we're playing against, and I think at that time I'm probably in my maybe late 20s, early 30s. So I was still pretty good at that point. And we had a good team back then and a really good team. We playing these guys, they were straight out of college. Like, so a lot of them were like they wasn't like high major, but like Division II All-Americans and stuff like that. And we're playing the championship game in Waterloo. And we're down by 1. And Keith Cole, his 6'11" guy, is Hank's brother. He gets fouled with like 1 second, maybe the clock might have ran out or whatever. And I'm sitting on the bench, and Keith was getting ready to go shoot his free throws, and I just started taking my shoes off. And the other team was like, "What are you doing? Why are you taking your shoes off?" And I said, "This game's over, man. He never misses." And he walked up, switched the first one, tie ball game, switched the second one, game over. We walk out the gym, and I'm pretty sure we went to a bar and had some beers. But I can't believe I did that. I really did. I just took my shoes off because I was like, "Game's over. It's over. He never misses."
Best. I have a feeling that there was some serious trash talking back then. Best trash talking story that you got back from your guys back then.
Oh man, if you really want to know the truth, I mean, I never really was a big trash talker. I didn't really talk that much. I just liked to play a lot. But I do kind of remember one time we were playing these guys from Briarcliff, and they had just won the NAIA national championship, and they had guys like Francisco Pippen and guys who you might have heard of back then that were led the nation in scoring and all that.
Was that in
And
Okoboji or Spencer?
that was in Spencer. It was
Yeah,
in
I was
Spencer.
there.
Yeah, okay. And we were down like 7 with like 40 seconds to go. And we fouled this guy. This little guard was just talking. He just started talking just out of nowhere. And so we fouled him, and he went up and he bricked the free throw, and we went down and scored. And so now we gonna cut it down to 5. So now I'm talking. I was like, let's just foul this guy. He's terrible. We foul him. He just goes up, bricks it again. We go down and score. So now we down 1. We foul him again. I mean, he literally airballed it. And then he gets the rebound. We go down and we beat him. And he missed like 3 straight 1-and-1s, and we came down and scored every time and beat him. And I may have talked a little trash after that.
Wasn't there like a Rolando, somebody for Briarcliff there from Puerto Rico, Rolando
Rolando Backman or something like that. Yeah, yes.
He was an
yes.
NAI All-American. They had their whole freaking Briarcliff team there.
Yep. They had just won the NAIA championship too.
Yep.
So they're playing against a bunch of old farts like us and getting beat.
And that's when Lowry jumps in Lake Okoboji and he loses his socks in Lake Okoboji. It's like April. He thinks he's going to jump into like a lake and it's like 42 degrees or whatever.
So, yeah, and one thing too about that game, Chris, I remember this. I don't know why I remember this. Hank knows all this, but anyway, they had called the foul on me, and I was super pissed, right? Because I wasn't a foul. So this guy knocked me over, and I'm on the ground, right? And so the ref is trying to see what my number is, because on the back of my shirt. So the ref would try to walk around. Every time the ref would walk by around me, I would just spin around like I was breakdancing. And so he walked around me about 3 or 4 times and he couldn't see my number. So then he just teed me up. He's like, you got some technical foul, right? Oh, that was kind of funny.
So you coached. You went and coached some AAU for several years. Give me an idea of who's a player that came through AAU that you were just like, wow, that guy is phenomenal, like blew your socks off.
So yeah, we have to go back a little bit because I went and played overseas for a while.
Okay.
And then when I came back from doing that, I moved to North Carolina because that's where my kids were living and all that. So I had an AAU program in North Carolina, and this guy named John Wall walks into the gym, and he's like, hey, I want to play on you guys' team. I heard a lot of good things about you, blah blah blah. And when I saw him play, I just looked at him and I'm like, this dude is different. This dude is, he was 6'4". He was the fastest human being I ever seen. He could jump as high as anybody ever could jump. And he was just a competitor. Like, he hated to lose. And so I was blessed to coach him and be and also in North Carolina. I coached PJ Tucker that played in the NBA. Who else did I had Jimmy Graham, who ended up going to my University of Miami on a basketball scholarship, and then played football and ended up playing in the NFL for however long.
Yeah.
And was the all-pro tight end. So I had those guys when I was in North Carolina. And then when I was, hearing names, of course, I had Harrison Barnes, and I had Doug McDermott, and I had Marcus Page, and a bunch of guys. I had, Mike Gazelle and Woodbury, and a bunch of those guys that I had at All Iowa Tech. And the latest one that I've had has been is Taman Lipsey. I started coaching Taman when he was in the kindergarten playing 4th grade at that time, and so we knew that he was going to be pretty special too. So, but I would probably say the most unbelievable guy I saw at that young of an age was John Wall.
So fastest guy, you said, John Wall. Faster than Kevin Lowry?
He was faster than Kevin Lowry. We got to remember now. We got Kevin Lowry is really fast, but you got to put that whatever you call it, quote, not quotation, but you got to put an asterisk by it. He's the fastest white guy I've ever seen.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So I'm going to take you a little back to when you were a junior, I think, when Johnny got there.
Yep, that's correct.
Tell us about that. Johnny walks in.
So Coach Orr comes in, and everything just changed. So here's one thing: we played in the Hilton, which is like you see it on TV all the time. The Hilton.
This was
Magic
his introductory press conference. Mike Green posted this today.
Oh, is that right? Nice. Yep. Mike's a great dude, man. He has all the history. But
yeah, we had him on the show.
Yeah, when when Coach Orr came, so the Hilton, they used to play hockey in there, right? So they used to put our basketball court on top of the ice. Well, Coach Orr got there, that ice was out of the Hilton. It was gone. It was just all basketball. And we went from driving down to Des Moines and flying out of Des Moines and playing the game on Wednesday, and you leave on Tuesday and come back on Thursday because you're flying commercial, till we had our own plane where, like a 20-passenger plane that the basketball team used to go to games. So a lot of stuff changed, but mainly his personality and his energy and his enthusiasm, it was just contagious. And like, Chris, if you ever met Coach Orr and you talked to him for like 20 minutes, you would think that he was your best friend. You know what I mean? He just made everybody feel that way. And he was just a fun guy to play for. I mean, he made the game fun. Like, even if you lost, it was fun. It was just you wanted to win for him, you wanted to win for yourself, but he just made it fun for you. And he would just come up to me and be like, because like Swaggy said, the first year that he came, our team wasn't that good. But he's like, he used to just say, and I can't do my Coach Orr voice, but he'd be like, Lefty, goddammit, those big guys ain't worth a shit. But we got to get them to play hard. So I tell you what, in practice, when we running drills and we scrimmaging, he says, you just give them the ball every time, and they'll rebound, and then they'll outlet it to you, and you give it to them every time in practice. He said, but when you get in the game, you shoot that son bitch every time. And he said, because some big dumb fuckers don't know the difference. They think you're gonna pass it to them because you did it in practice. But it's like he said, when you get in the game, you shoot it every time. And I was like, Coach, I think we're gonna get along just fine.
Oh man, I will just say that this is now probably the 4th or 5th Johnny Orr impression that we've had on this show.
Oh man,
so I never tire of hearing Johnny Orr stories or his impressions.
Yeah, his grandson played for me, and then his grandson coached for me. His grandson still lives in Ankeny, Iowa, so he's involved in basketball, and so we, it's kind of funny because, like, listening to Shroggy remembers a lot of stuff that I don't, because like I'm just old and not very smart. But listening to Johnny Orr's grandson just tell stories of the stories that he used to tell him when he was a kid, that make me feel really good to hear how he felt about me, and and how we felt about each other.
Let me take a quick break here. I want to get a word from a couple of our sponsors, and then I come back. I want to continue to talk about Johnny Orr. I'll tell my favorite Johnny Orr story, and then I'd love to hear more about that. And then let's talk about how Hilton Magic started. So let me get a couple words from our sponsors here, and then we'll come back with Keith Lefty Moore, and of course my co-host Keith Shroggy.
Making great tasting bourbon requires the perfect combination of ingredients, conditions, and time. The longer it rests, the better it tastes. Revelton Distillery's new single barrel bourbon is made from 80% corn, sourced 100% from Iowa farmers. And unlike mass-produced bourbons, each barrel of Revelton's single barrel bourbon is unique, proofed on when it tastes best. As they like to say, it'll be ready when it's ready. And to ensure the highest standards of quality and flavor, Owners Rob and Christy Taylor oversee the production and bottling. Every single barrel. Iowa born, Iowa aged, Iowa bottled. Try the new single barrel bourbon from Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com. When energy meets precision, anything is possible.
I'm Carter Hawley, the Chief Energy Officer of the Iowa State Cyclones. I'm full of energy on and off the court, but nothing gives me more energy than helping families find their dream home. And that's where Green Beret Realty comes in. They're more than just realtors. They're a team dedicated to getting things right for you and your family, just like we get it right on the court.
No basket. Fouls on the floor before the shot. Out of bounds.
Come on! Can you believe that? You can't take that away from me.
That call was absolutely terrible. Are you guys cautiously trying to be this bad? I mean, does your mom not love you?
Have you seen how old my partner is? My back hurts already from carrying him all night. And I've heard enough out of you.
So you're gone. Fine. Jim, are you blind? Basket's good. We've got a three-pointer. Sometimes it takes a team to get the call right. And when you're buying a home, you want a team that makes all the right calls. That is Green Beret Realty. And here's the best part. When you buy or sell a home through Dan at Green Beret Realty and mention this ad, he'll make a donation to the We Will Collective, helping student athletes like me thrive on and off the court.
That call's so easy, even we can make it.
Green Beret Realty, because getting the call right means everything.
All right, and we're back with our guest, Keith Lefty Moore from the Johnny Orr era. And so, Lefty, two small stories. I never had the pleasure of meeting Coach Orr. I always wanted to. Keith actually got me to interview Coach Walden, which I was super thrilled about. Those are my guys. That's when I went to school there, things like that. So I have a special place in my heart for him. But two stories that, for me, was obviously Johnny Orr's response to Dick Vitale on the live Sunday selection show. When he reminded him how much he kicked his ass the last time that they had played.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget, and I think this is the epitome of Coach Orr. A, he didn't have a filter, and B, he always stuck up for his players. Was when Victor Alexander finished his last year, and he went on an absolute bad word tirade about how much Victor Alexander got fouled every fucking game and nobody ever called it, and how unfair it was that such a big, strong guy got so fouled and never got the calls.
Yeah. I tell you what, and I remember both of those incidents very, very well. And I grew up at university. I was a huge Michigan fan, but I lived like a mile from University of Detroit. So I was Dick Vitale had it going at Detroit back then, and a lot of the guys, he was keeping a lot of those guys at home. A lot of those guys. I don't know if you like Terry Tyler and Terry Durod and John Long and a bunch of those guys that played in the NBA from Detroit that stayed home. So he had it going there, but they could. Coach Orr said, Michigan would always kick his ass. So he reminded Dick about that, and I think Dick acknowledged it. But I can tell you this, and Shraggy might remember this story, but we were playing Missouri on it was on, and back then, you get on national TV, it was a pretty big deal. So we were playing Missouri on national TV, and they were ranked second in the country at that time. Had like 4 or 5 NBA guys on their team, and we're playing. It's a close game. I mean, it's like 2 or 3 point game, and Stepanovic just took the ball, and I'm guarding him. He's 6'11", I'm 5'11", and I'm just guarding him, and he just takes the ball and just hits me right on top of the head with it. And the refs don't call anything, and I don't think nothing of it. I'm running down court, and I turn around, and Coach Orr is standing at the free throw line. He ran out to the middle of the court and was using every cuss words you could imagine. And it ended up being a bad deal for us, but he was taking up us. He was taking up because he felt like, we didn't get no respect in the Big Eight back then. We were just Iowa State. We didn't get no respect, and he was taking up for us. But they ended up shooting like 5 free throws and got the ball back, and we ended up losing the game by like 7 or 8.
That was
But he made
1981.
that was in '81. Yep, he made a point to defend us, and at that time, Norm Stewart and Coach Orr were pretty good friends, but they were real competitors back then. And Norm Stewart said, I looked up and he said I was about to throw him a bounce pass for a layup. It's like he was. I couldn't believe it, man. I'm sitting there, I'm guarding Sunvolt, right? And I turn around and Coach Orr is literally standing in the middle of the free throw line during the game, and and the rest were just. I think the rest were kind of scared, but they had to throw him out. They didn't have any choice. They had to throw him out of the game. But I mean he definitely took up for us until we started getting some respect. And I mean I don't even know if you remember this, but back in those days when you had the Big Eight tournament, if you were in the top four teams played at home, right? They played at home.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and then whoever the semifinals and the finals were in Kansas City. Well, once we started getting good, they changed that rule because they made it where everybody went to Kansas City because Kansas or Missouri or Oklahoma, they didn't want to have to come play a Big Eight a game in the Hilton, in the Big 12 in the Big Eight championship. So he was pretty instrumental in them getting that rule changed to having everybody go to Kansas City instead of just the Final Four.
I mean, it didn't do him any good. We invade Kansas City just as much as we do Hilton anyway.
Exactly.
So it didn't do him any good.
It's Hilton South, but
that's right.
It's Hilton South, but yeah.
So I want to go. Not that this date is etched in my mind at all,
but it is.
I feel like you're full of shit.
February 8th, 1983. We're in Hilton. We're playing Missouri. They're number 10 in the country. So this is 2 years after this incident that took place with Stefanovic.
And yes.
And I think we're like 16-10. Missouri's number 8 in the country, number 10 in the country, something like that. But they got John Sunvold and they got Stefanovic. That summer, Stefanovic shot himself like in the arm or the foot or something.
Shot himself in the arm.
College life has changed, Chris. Yeah. When they introduced Steve Stefanovic for that game, there was 4,000 or 5,000 Iowa State students had cap guns, and we were shooting cap guns off because he shot himself prior to that game or that summer before.
He lied about it. He said somebody broke in his house or whatever, and then come to find out he had shot it. He did it himself. He shot himself messing around with a gun or whatever.
Right.
And Sragi's right. Yeah. Go ahead.
So, all right, I hear about all these guys. They all talk about the greatest shooter that ever played. At Iowa State, and there was a lot of great guys that shot, right? But the guy that was the all-time leading scorer was this guy by the name of Barry Stevens. And this guy that we're having on the podcast today was his host. And in February 8th, 1983, Hilton Magic was born. Barry Stevens hit a shot right before half to tie it. He hit a shot right before the end of the game to tie it. And he hit a shot with no time left in the first overtime. And we beat number 10 Missouri at our place. Barry scored 42 of our 71 points, and there was no three-point line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Barry was an incredible human. Barry's sister was the girlfriend of Jeff Greer. But without Barry Stevens, without Jeff Greer, and Jeff Hornacek in between, all of them tied to this guy right here, Lefty Moore. I want you to talk about that, Lefty. Talk about Barry.
Well,
Talk
I
about
mean, yeah,
that.
you said it. I mean, you said it all. Like Barry was just an unbelievable guy, man, and just a unbelievable player. Like if it would have, like he was the all-time leading scorer when he left Iowa State, but Jeff Greer eventually passed him. Who coincidentally, Jeff, like he said, Barry Stevens' sister was Jeff's girlfriend, and now she's been his wife for 35, 40 years. So they've been together a long time. But me being from Detroit, I was from Detroit, and so when a lot of those guys, like when Barry was from Flint, so when a lot of those guys from Michigan would come visit Iowa State, Coach Orr would want me to show him around and and have a good time with him. So I took him and Barry around, and I actually took Hornacek around, and Jeff Greer and all those guys, and got to know them all, and you know to me if you just go by what they did at Iowa State, there's a really big argument that Barry Stevens could be the best player to play at Iowa State. Not, if you don't, obviously Hornacek played in the NBA forever with, Malone and Stockton and Greer, played on the Olympic team and played in the NBA. But if just by what they did at Iowa State, it'll be pretty hard pressed for somebody to top what Barry did. I mean, he was remarkable, and then just when you see all of that, I was the all time assist leader at Iowa State for a year and a half, and that was when Hornacek broke the record a year and a half later. It didn't last. It didn't last very long, but I tell him, hey, the only thing that you can do is be the best when you left there. You can't
That's right.
control what happened after that, and so he broke the record after I left, and I think Tinsley broke it after that, and Monte. I think it might be Monte now, but
I think it's
anyway, it's been a
Montes
lot.
now.
Yeah, it's been a lot of great players, but um, me and Barry again. This is one like we said. Me and Barry, Jeff Greer, even Hornacek. I just talked to Hornacek a couple weeks ago, but like we stayed friends forever, and probably I think it was it might have been 2 or 3 days before Barry passed away. We were just talking on the phone, and he was talking about we are going to get together and do something. And then the next thing I know, Jeff Greer calls me and say, "Man, Barry," I say, "What?" Because Barry's like the healthiest guy I ever knew. Like he never drank, he didn't party, I mean, he was just healthy, and had a heart attack and passed away at I think it's 42 or 43 years old when that happened.
On a
And
basketball court.
in the gym, he was an assistant coach at Western Illinois with Rick Samuels, who was one of Coach Orr's assistant coaches at that time. So that's how Barry knew him. And so yeah, he was at Western Illinois, and he passed away. And so me and Jeff, we kind of organized the game in the Hilton, and I think we had about 11,000 people come to that, show up for that game. And of course, Coach Orr was, helped out with it and everything. And but that was just how we felt about Barry and about Jeff. And then I later on, as I was older, I played in it was the CBA back then. It's called the D League now, and I played in the CBA. And on our team in the CBA, it was me, Barry Stevens, Ed Horton, and Roy Marble. All
Oh
of
my
us had
gosh.
Iowa connections. Yeah, on the same CBA team. That was a lot of fun.
I'm not sure how you lost a game.
The CBA at that time, the CBA was the second best league in the country by far. Like it wasn't all the people going overseas and stuff like they do now. They didn't happen. I mean, because Roy was playing for the Atlanta Hawks, and he got in trouble, and that's why he was in the D League.
Hmm.
Ed had played for the Washington Bullets, and he was in the D League. Barry played with Jeff Greer and Victor Alexander at Golden State for a little while.
Yeah,
And so yeah. And so we were all together down we were in Fargo, North Dakota in the D League. So that was a good
that
time.
that sounds terrible.
I think there's such a history with Hilton Magic, and there's so many people talk about the Hilton Magic, but you talk about the roots and the starting spot of it. I mean, it begins and ends with Lefty. I mean, without him and his, I mean, you've not met him yet, Chris, but when you do meet Lefty, and someday you will, he just lights up the room, man. I mean, it's a different environment. And, I feel very honored to have Lefty as my friend. And he's done such a great job. And I would say just kind of being in the shadows of it all. But without him, we don't have what we have there. We just don't.
Well, and that's kind of the point of this show too, right? Like we do other guests or whatever, but this is why this is a favorite thing that I do on this show, is to bring on guys that are from those older teams that don't get the recognition. Now that I've gotten to be good friends with Keith and some of the other guys and Lefty, now that I know you, but like when people like tell me like that jersey behind Keith right now that he's got it back there, I love that jersey. It's my favorite jersey. It's my favorite logo. And then when I see people online go, well, I don't want anything to do with that logo because we sucked back then or whatever, it just gets me so angry because you don't know the Big 8 was iconic. And yes, the Big 12 is tough and whatever, but I would venture to I would put up money that playing back in the Big 8 teams, when you were playing Oklahoma and Oklahoma State and those 8 teams, was just as hard and just as good a basketball as what you see now.
Oh, for sure. I mean, okay, so we play Missouri, right? And I got to guard Larry Drew and John Sunvolt. And then we go play Kansas, and I got to guard Darnell Valentine. And then we play K-State, and I got to guard Rolando Blackman. And all the guys that Oklahoma had, and even Oklahoma State was good, Nebraska was good back then. I mean, it was a big time league, I mean, and I don't think people, it's a lot of, like me and Strike was talking earlier. I think people think Hilton Magic started like in 2005 or something, with,
Right.
and they think the NBA started in '84 when Jordan came. They just don't.
Right.
They don't recognize the history of it and where it all started. And like I told him, man, I'm just really blessed to be a part of it. The one thing, like when I was talking and we went by the Hilton and I was like, we get to play in here, and they was like, yeah. But then when we started playing, I said, well, you didn't tell me that this thing was going to be empty,
Right.
So,
that night when we beat Missouri in 1983.
Yeah, there
was only 9,000 people in that place.
Well, by the time I left, we were almost sold out every game. I mean, we went from 4,000 to 12 or 13,000, and it was we beat Kansas in the Hilton and go to Kansas and get beat by 20. But that Hilton Magic, man, it just did something to you. And it's go ahead.
No, finish.
Well, I'm just trying, like, as a player, you try to think about it, and you don't think it's nothing different, but when you out there, you just feel different. You know what I mean? You just I don't know, shots just magically go in, or stuff just happens when you playing in the Hilton.
Marcus.
I think it was maybe 83, and we had Barry, Ronnie Harris, and Ron Virgil.
Yep.
And they're none of them standing on the freaking Des Moines phone book were 6'5", but they're all guarding 6'8", 6'7", 6'5", whatever. It didn't matter. Ronnie Harris was guarding the best player out there, but it was.
Well, Coach Orr didn't really like big guys. You know what I mean? He liked 6'6", 6'7" guys. He didn't really like 6'10". He didn't really like big guys. He liked, athletic wing guys nowadays is what they would be. But that was just kind of the guys that he liked, but he just kind of got stuck with me,
Oh,
shit. Yeah, you were talking about what it's like to play in there. I've talked to Marcus quite a bit. Marcus is on our other podcast. Marcus Pfizer is a regular host on Side of the Storm, and he's told the story about his dunk against Chris Mims in Texas and how it's like an out of body experience. Like the roar of that crowd, you're like you don't realize everything goes. He goes, I literally feel like it just was dead silent in there.
Yeah.
And everybody has their memory of their first Hilton Magic. Mine would probably be watching Lefty Rhodes score 56 against Iowa,
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
Oklahoma State game when I visibly could see the rims shake and the camera shake. And that guy from Oklahoma State missed those 2 free throws.
That was like a 90% free
Mid,
throw
yeah,
shooter.
yeah. He was like in the mid. It was in the late 90s or in the
Yeah.
mid 90s.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the team, but like I just vividly remember watching it, and the whole thing was shaking so much. And he missed those 2 free throws, and I was like, I've never seen the entire court shake.
Yep.
Let me ask you this: I for the first time ever went to a Kansas basketball game 2 weeks ago. A friend of mine is a Kansas Jayhawk fan.
Mhm.
So it was my first experience ever in Fog Allen. It was a Texas Tech in Kansas. I wore a Kansas shirt. I'm not proud of it, but they lost. They lost on a terrible foul call, and I can't say as I feel bad for them at all. Welcome to the rest of us peasants.
Yep.
Anyways,
Yep.
Outside of Hilton, your favorite place to have played in the Big 8?
I tell you, so the Kansas was Fog Island was my favorite, and I was blessed to, we won a game there, a couple games we won there at KU, which back then that just didn't hardly ever happen. But the hardest place to play was at Missouri, because I don't know if you remember, they used to have this group called the Antlers,
Yes.
and they were absolutely nuts. And I mean, I think they got barred from games for a while from going there. They were so bad. But those guys, that was just a tough place to play in. They were just crazy, man. Like the night before the game, they had a pizza delivered to Ron Folinchek's room, because Ron was like just a really big dude, and they would just do stuff like that. And like they would have the band, they'd had the band outside our hotel room playing all night so that we couldn't go to sleep. Just stuff like that, which it's just how it was back then. But it was, Kansas, just the history of walking in that gym and going, man, freaking Wilt Chamberlain played here, and James Naismith invented basketball here, and all that kind of stuff, that was Chris, I hate to admit this, but literally the first time we played there, I about peed my pants. It was just, it was crazy, man. When you come out there and that rock chalk Jayhawk stuff, it was pretty crazy.
It was pretty insane.
Yeah.
I gotta take another break, and then when I come back, I want to ask you. I'll give you some time to think about the question, but give me a story that the statutes of limitations has evaporated, and you can tell a story now. One that you're holding back that is a fun story, and if it happens to involve Keith, that's fine.
Well, it's probably 20 of those.
But let's get a word from Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. We'll come back with a story from Keith.
Whether you're buying, selling, or refinancing your home, or if it's simply time to renovate the one you're already living in, you need an experienced mortgage professional to help you analyze your financing options and to make sure the closing goes smoothly. And that's exactly what you get when you call Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. Kyle's experience and expertise, coupled with Wintrust's rates and programs, ensures you'll get the mortgage that's right for you. You may even qualify for down payment assistance. Before you reach out to a realtor, call Kyle and get pre-qualified, empowering you to start shopping for the home of your dreams. Call Kyle at 515-473-0546. Kyle Lehman, Wintrust Mortgage, 515-473-0546.
All right, and we're back. All right, Keith. Story that you can tell that the statute of limitations is now evaporated.
Man, I can't really. I know this is pretty bad. I can't think of any, because it was just it was so different then. Like, we really wasn't under a microscope, and we literally could do almost whatever we wanted to do without really getting in trouble. So we didn't. I mean, we hung out together and we did a lot of stuff and had fun, but we didn't really, I would say, cross the line. I probably crossed the line more with Shragi and Hank, going to tournaments and just getting shit faced. And I remember we were I don't know if Froggy was at this tournament, but we were at a tournament, and we were drinking a few beers, and I was like, I don't know, this bright idea popped in my mind. I was like, man, anybody can just get a really good night's sleep and wake up the next day and play good basketball. Like, anybody can do that. But can you just drink all night, and drink a beer and go to the gym and then win a championship? Let's see if we can do that. And we did it. And that was just the kind of that's the kind of stuff we did. But I'm sorry, I can't come. I
No,
really
it's all right.
can't come up with anything that's just really, really crazy.
Well, I will say
One of
nothing.
I gotta go to one of my favorite
All
stories.
right, Keith, you go ahead.
One of my favorite ever was we were playing softball for People's Bar and Grill, and Skip Welsh
Yep.
had me and a couple other guys, but Lefty and Eddie Bridges, and we went up to Albert Lee, Minnesota, is
Yep.
where we were staying, and then we were playing in a town called Alden, Minnesota, which was about population 750 people, maybe
Max on a good day.
and there's probably been two black folks that have ever been in Alden, and it was Lefty and Eddie, and all the other ones were on Highway 90 going through. And we were out there and we were playing. And Lefty, I don't know, what'd you bat in slow pitch softball? 900? Did you ever make it out?
I don't know. We had fun.
It was ridiculous. So we're up there, and this gal comes up, and she says to Lefty and Eddie, "Are you brothers?" And what'd you say, Lefty?
I said, not blood. I remember that. Are you guys brothers? I said,
It
yeah,
was
not
the
blood.
best. It was the best. I mean, we steamrolled through that tournament. We had such a good time.
Yeah.
And Lefty come up, and he's going to spin the cap of the pitcher every time. It's going to be up the middle, up the middle, up the middle, up the middle. And finally he decides, he goes up. I'll never forget this. He goes, I'm going to hit a home run over left field. And it's left field's probably 310 or whatever. And he's a left-handed batter, so he's hitting it to the opposite field in slow pitch softball. This is how good an athlete this guy was. This guy throws a pitch. It's kind of deep in the box, and Lefty hits this freaking ball over the left field fence for like a 300-foot home run in slow pitch softball opposite field. And we're like, what the fuck can this guy not do? You know, it was just.
I couldn't outdrink you. That was the one thing.
No, you couldn't. No.
Well, Chris, the thing about the slow pitch softball was that I played baseball at Iowa State too.
Yes, you did.
So that kind of helped. Yeah.
Did you know that, Chris? That he was also.
I did not know that. No, I did not know that.
We could go all on that. Larry Corrigan was his coach, and
Yep, Larry's great. Yep. He's up in Minnesota right now. He's not doing well health wise, but talk to him still. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. But I kind of got to get out of here, man.
I'm just getting ready to close the store. I'm getting ready to close the show. Lefty, I really appreciate you coming on. I think at this point, it's a given that we need to get together, and I need to meet you, get you a drink, and as always, Keith Shroggy, I can't thank you enough for what you do for me and Three Beards Media and Old Man Strength and what you guys both do for Cyclone Athletics. So let's go win the whole fucking thing this year. That would be a hell of a way to go out. So
I would love that. And I really thank you for having me on. And it's always good to catch up with Shroggy. And we had a good time a few months ago when he came up and we played golf and hung out for a while. And my AAU team. Do you live in Indianapolis, Chris?
No, I don't. I live in Des Moines, actually. Just south
you do?
Of Des Moines. Yep. So
yeah. Well, me and him are gonna. My AAU team is going down there, and we're going to Indianapolis in May 2nd and 3rd. So we'll connect in and hang out and have a good time.
Yeah, buddy.
All righty.
Can't wait, bud.
All right,
All
guys.
right.
Thanks again
Hey,
for
Les,
another
thanks for
episode.
coming.
Yep,
Thank you
thanks
so
for having
much,
me on.
guys.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. Thanks again, guys, for listening to another episode of Old Man Strength. Check out the rest of the podcast on the Three Beards Media Network. Broadcasted live from the AKC Andrew Downs studio. And again, our sponsors, Revelton Distilling Company, Greenberry Realty, and Wintrust Mortgage. With that, we are out of here.
Old man strength, built to last. Try to break me, you won't get past. Ain't no quit, ain't no doubt. You don't know tough till you've been worn out. We'll make it, you'll understand.